Hello, good morning, good day, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you're having or have had a beautiful, blessed day. My stuff is like still here and then right here too. I may have to cough and I don't know. I'll do my best. Hey, today we're in 35 and 36 in Numbers. Tomorrow we start Deuteronomy. And there are a few things in Deuteronomy that I want to again, I try not to belabor things, but point out and at least briefly say, hey, did we see this? Did we notice this? Did we? But I'll try to do that as briefly as I can, like always. Pray today. Yeah, pray about everything. Then shut up and listen. That part's really important. But pray about what we talk about all the time. Anybody that's been persecuted for their faith. Anybody that's being sex trafficked or in any way being treated as a slave or indentured servant. Because that is, y'all, slavery has gone nowhere. It's behind closed doors now. Where at one time it was out in the open. But it's gone nowhere. Reparations for the... Shut up. How about we worry about the people that are slaves right now? How about we worry about that? How about we don't worry about the women living under Sharia law? They sit and cry silently to themselves every night because there's nothing they can do. How about we worry about that? Pray. But when you're praying, don't forget to pray for leadership, right? Whether that be your local preacher, the head of the Baptist convention, or the Pope. Pray for the religious leaders and the president and every single person in the secular leadership that you think needs prayers. What I want you to do today is after we read stuff and you pray, I want you to really work on forgiving somebody that you don't want to forgive, somebody that has really hurt you or really done you wrong, or maybe it's even harder because they've done your kids wrong, because that's my thing. It's really hard for me though. Pray for that person today and try to forgive them. Try to get to a place where you can forgive them. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sewing up Numbers is not going to be exciting. We're just going to do it. Not really a lot to talk about in these last two chapters, to be frank. Most everything we're going to say here is going to be, you'll get it. We don't have to tear it apart or unpack it. So there we go, 35 and 36. The Lord spoke to Moses on the plains of Moab, by the Jordan opposite Jericho. Command the Israelites out of the heritage they possess to give the Levites cities to dwell in. You will also give the Levites the pasture lands around the cities. The cities will be for them to dwell in, and the pasture lands will be for their cattle, their flocks, and all the other animals. The pasture lands of the cities will be assigned to the Levites, shall extend 1,000 cubits out from the city walls in every direction. This right here, I know I still wanted to. This right here is why there was a time when it didn't matter if you're a Baptist preacher, church cross, whatever. You had a job or a part-time job. You did something. And the church you preached at gave you a house to live in, usually right beside the church. But there was a house right there, and that was your house to live in. It was preaching. You didn't have to live there, but it was your house to live in for free if you want to live there. Levites are getting their land and their places to live for free. That's all this is, right? And these kinds of ideas carried on through until, I mean, genuinely, this was still going on in the 1970s, 1980s. It had started getting less, but 1970s, 80s is still going on. Lots of preachers, especially in small rural areas, they farmed. to make a living, or they did something else to make a, and they preached too, right? And the way they got paid by the church was on a regular basis. Someone brought them something to eat. Lots of little ladies of the church would cook them food and bring it to them, right? And they were given a house to live in, so that their cost of living, right, was very, very low. But they weren't paid. Anyway, yeah. So this is all we're doing here. We're giving the Levites their due, right? You will measure out 2,000 cubits outside the city along the east side, 2,000 along the south side, 2,000 on the west side, and 2,000 on the north side, with the city line in the center. These will be the pasture lands for their cities. Now these are the cities you will give to the Levites, the 6 cities of asylum, which you must establish for the homicide to run to. For the homicide to run to. That sounds funny to us. The guy's being accused of homicide to run to. How's that? I mean, what? You gotta give them all these cities, right? Asylum. Cities of asylum. A total of 48 cubits with their pasture lands, which will be assigned to the Levites. And assign the cities. In assigning the cities from what the Israelites possess, take more from a larger group and fewer from a smaller one, so that each will cede cities to the Levites in proportion to their heritage. That sounds like having a tax that's percentage based, so that it's fair and equal for everyone. Oh, that's what we do. Go look at the way England taxes. Go really look at it. We pay entirely too many taxes, but not because of our Internal Revenue Service, right? It taxes everyone at this percent if you make this much money, and this percent if you make that much money. It's pretty down the line even. We get taxed entirely too much. Not because of that, but because every time you pay on your income tax, you gotta pay. When you go buy something at the store, you got to pay taxes. Or you live in a state where it's state taxes. And buy property, you got to pay taxes. Sell something, you got to pay taxes. Give something to your kids when you die, they got to pay taxes. We're overtaxed because we are taxed on every little thing every time they get a chance. It's not because of the percentage, it's everything else. If you didn't have to pay taxes at any store, if you didn't have to pay taxes when you bought a vehicle, except for like a wheel tax or whatever for the road, because okay, fair enough, right? You wouldn't even think about taxes. Taxes wouldn't mean nothing to you. But it's beating us to death. Property taxes are beating us to death. And if we never stand up and say this is wrong, unconstitutional even, it never changes. Anyway, so the Levites got their cities of asylum, yeah? And they took a little bit from the smaller tribes to give to them, and a lot from the bigger tribes. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you go across to the Jordan into the land of Canaan, select for yourselves cities to serve as cities of asylum, where a homicide who has killed someone inadvertently may flee." So, a homicide. So a person, what we would call, right, they're saying inadvertently, so it'd be more like a manslaughter thing. Somebody's killed somebody, but it was an accident, right? They need a place to run to because the other person's family might not care it was an accident. These cities will serve you as places of asylum from the avenger of blood, so that a homicide will not be put to death until tried before the community. As for the cities you assign, you will have 6 cities of asylum. You will designate 3 cities beyond the Jordan, and you will designate 3 cities in the land of Canaan. These will be the cities of asylum. These 6 cities will serve as places of asylum for the Israelites, and for the resident or transient aliens among them, so that anyone who has killed a person inadvertently may flee there. If someone strikes another with an iron instrument and causes death, that person is a murderer, and the murderer must be put to death. If someone strikes another with a death-dealing stone in the hand and death results, that person is a murderer, and they must be put to death. Or if someone strikes with a death-dealing club in the hand, and death results, they're a murderer, and the murderer must be put to death. The avenger of blood is the one who will kill the murderer, putting the individual to death on sight. If someone pushes another out of hatred, or throws something from an ambush, and death results, or strikes another with a hand out of enmity. So, enmity. Okay, just hold on. Let me let it do its thing first. Or strikes another with a hand out of enmity, and death results, the assailant must be put to death as a murderer. Got some bad ill will, and a strike you because I'm mad, and you die. Does the law care that I didn't mean to kill you? Don't they care I was mad I attacked you and you died? You're a murderer. I don't care about the Bible. Every law we have, every stinking law we have, whole world, its originating form, the place it came from, its root, right here. Why? Not everybody believes in God, no, but they used to. They might have believed in different gods, different things, different stuff, but basically everybody believes something. Scientists, great scientists, would have said, you're a fool for not believing in God. Galileo would have told you that. Einstein. Anyway. However, if someone pushes another without malice, or aforethought, or without lying in ambush, and throws some object at another, without seeing drops upon another from some death-dealing stone, and death results. Now, without seeing drops upon another, right? So what is it? It's manslaughter, right? If we were here and we were filing charges, and it's be manslaughter. Something happened, you did something, but it was never supposed to result in death. You got mad, you shoved them, but then they tripped over that thing and their head hit the coffee table and they died. Tragic, terrible. But that person's still dead, somebody has to pay for that. Right? Okay, that's what we're talking about, right? This kind of thing. Then the community will judge between the assailant and the avenger of blood in accordance with these norms. The community will deliver the homicide from the avenger of blood, and the community will return the homicide to the city of asylum, where the latter had fled. And the individual will stay there until the death of the high priest, who has been anointed with sacred oil. If the homicide leaves at all the bounds of the city of asylum, to which flight had been made, and is found by the avenger of blood beyond the bounds of the city of asylum, and the avenger of blood kills the homicide, the avenger incurs no blood guilt. For the homicide was required to stay in the city of asylum until the death of the high priest. Only after the death of the high priest may the homicide return to the land of the homicide's possession. This is a statute for you throughout all your generations, wherever you live, for enduring judgment. Whenever someone kills another, the evidence of witnesses is required to kill the murderer. A single witness does not suffice for putting a person to death. You will not accept compensation in place of the life of a murderer who deserves to die, but that person must be put to death. In other words, he can't buy his way out of this. Right? Because we've read, if he accidentally killed a guy's donkey, it's okay, you just got to make reparations. There's none of that. None of that. Alright? For bloodshed pollutes the land, and the land can have no expiation for the bloodshed on it through the blood of the one who shed it. Do not defile the land in which you live, and in the midst of which I dwell. For I, the Lord, dwell in the midst of the Israelites. Chapter 36. Now, I just want to point out here that, hold on. I've lost it. But I'll just say it right now. Maybe it's going to say it right here. Maybe I should wait. Nah, it ain't. It always took more than one witness, right? One witness couldn't show him and say, this guy's a murderer, and they kill him. Because that was one guy against another guy. Same thing goes now. It's your word against mine, right? If there's no evidence, right? Because today we use evidence. We use evidence to prove. I'm not saying they didn't. But we use evidence they simply didn't have, right? We use DNA. We use all these things. Maybe there's some footage of it somewhere. They didn't have any footage. Today we use all these things we have at our disposal to help us gain evidence to prove someone guilty. Right? But if we didn't have all that evidence, there was only one witness to the crime, and you went to court, it would be that guy's word against the guy who's saying he didn't do it. There's no way to pick between those people. Because you don't know their heart. You're not God. There's no way for you to know who's telling the truth. You could think you know. You could probably be right. But if you can't prove it, if you don't know for a fact, then you can't put that person to death. Right? That's all they're saying here. Gotta be more than one witness. Everybody's gotta agree. Right? You can't do it. The heads of the ancestral houses in a clan of the descendants of Gilead, son of Mashir, son of Manasseh, one of the Josephite clans, came up and spoke before Moses and Elijah the priest, and before the leaders who were the heads of the ancestral houses of the Israelites. They said, the Lord commanded my Lord to apportion the land by lot for a heritage among the Israelites. And my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the heritage of Zelophehad, our kinsman, to his daughters. Y'all remember that? But if they marry into one of the other Israelite tribes, their heritage will be withdrawn from our ancestral heritage and will be added to that of the tribe of which they marry. Thus, the heritage that fell to us by lot will be diminished. See what they're saying? They're saying, hey, this is all great. But those daughters you gave stuff, which is a part of our larger tribe, when they marry, their inheritance will go to whoever they marry, to a different, if they marry outside of our tribe, they go to a different tribe. Then we lose our inheritance. That don't seem fair. That's what they're, Poop. Thus the heritage that fell to us by law will be diminished. When the Israelites celebrate the Jubilee year, the heritage of these women will be added to that of the tribe into which they marry, and their heritage will be withdrawn from that of our ancestral tribe. So Moses commanded the Israelites at the direction of the Lord. The tribe of the Josephites are right in what they say. This is what the Lord commands with regard to the daughters of Zelophehad. They may marry anyone they please, provided they marry into a clan of their ancestral tribe. You marry anybody you want to, as long as they're in your tribe. That's like Henry Ford when they asked him about the Model T. And about them all being black, basically. Look, Henry Ford had invented the assembly line, and he was using it with great efficiency. Everything same color, everything patterned. And Henry Ford said, people can have their Model T in any color they like, as long as they like black. There you go. You can marry anybody you like, as long as they're from your tribe. As long as they are into a clan of their ancestral tribe. So that no heritage of the Israelites will pass from one tribe to another, but all the Israelites will retain their own ancestral heritage. Every daughter who inherits property in any of the Israelite tribes will marry someone belonging to a clan of her own ancestral tribe, in order that all the Israelites may remain in possession of their own ancestral heritage. So forever and ever, daughter, you can only marry someone from your tribe. But you marry anybody you like, as long as they're from your tribe. It's tough. This is why Christ screams at the Pharisees and stuff like that. He said, you put these heavy yokes on your people, on the people that listen to you and that pray according to what you say. You put these burdens on them. Heavy burdens. And you do nothing to help them carry them. We got some churches like that now, y'all. We got some churches that put heavy burdens on their people, but don't do a thing in the world to really help them carry it. Just preach at them about carrying it. That's tough, y'all. And it's wrong. Anyway, moving on. So they've, fussed about it, and they've kind of worked it out, because now no daughter can ever marry outside of her tribe, so it's all worked out. It's fine. The daughters of Zelophehad did exactly as the Lord commanded Moses. Mahlah, Tirzah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Noah, Zelophehad's daughters, married sons of their uncles on their father's side. They married first cousins. They married within the clan of the descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph. Hence their heritage remained in the tribe of their father's clan. These are the commandments and decisions which the Lord commanded the Israelites through Moses on the plains of Moab, beside the Jordan, opposite the Jericho. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Book of Deuteronomy tomorrow. Do our best to not belabor the book of Deuteronomy either, but there are several things in there I want to just point out to you. Just because it's so easy for people to tell you how to believe or the theology you ought to follow. I've told you before, church matters. Having a place to go and worship and be around other people who want to be there and worship. Yes, they're hypocrites there. Yes, they're people who don't really care there. Worry about them. Pray for them. But you worry about what you're there for. Right? You worry about what you're there for. And in that way, religion's a very good thing. But religion is also the most divisive thing we have in the world. Right? Why do Muslims do what they do? Because their faith tells them to. Why do Christians go evangelize and try to spread the good word? That's the gospel, right? Because their religion tells them to. Now, nothing wrong with any of that except for in the Muslim faith, it means everybody else has to die. So that's a lot of strife. And in the Christian faith, despite the fact that you don't have to do that, it does mean you have to always be pushing, because God tells you to. But if we're pushing this book, not religion, not a belief system, not a bunch of crap men made up, not God. If we're following this book, we'd all end up more or less the same place eventually. I'm not saying everybody would have a Hail Mary, but everybody would venerate and have adoration for Mary if they just strictly went by this book. Right? Everybody. And let's be honest, right? Pretty much, you can't say all because there's so many. Pretty much every Christianity falls under this umbrella. They believe in God the Father. They believe in Jesus Christ the Son, who died for their sins. They believe in the Holy Spirit, which dwells within them if they are saved, and helps them to do right. He's always whispering to you, right? That's your Jiminy Cricket, right? That's the Holy Spirit. He's always telling you not to do this or do that. You just don't listen with the crap. Neither do I. My point is, there's a ton of things that the whole Christian world agrees on. Why don't we get rid of the religious stuff, the man-created religious stuff that separates us? I'm not beating up on anybody here. Please don't do that. But if you have a stage at the front of your church instead of an altar, and you can't have both, that's a problem. If on a regular basis, when you are in the sanctuary of your church, in the place where God is, If applause erupts for people and people's deeds, I think that's a problem. We do it at my church. I don't like it. We have a social hall, and that is a beautiful place for all those things. Let's go there and let's celebrate graduates. Let's celebrate our deacons, our priests, or preachers, or pastors, or reverends. Their years of service, or their birthday, or I don't care. Let's celebrate those things. Let's applaud good work in the social hall, not in the sanctuary. When we need to help somebody understand something, let's go to this book, not to some other book that helps us. Men wrote that book. They decided what. No man can reveal to you what the Holy Spirit can reveal to you. No man. And if the Holy Spirit has revealed things to you, no man can argue against them. I don't care what he wears or where he stands on the days on Sunday mornings. He is just a man. He has no more right to tell you you don't understand the Bible than anyone else. If you truly feel it in your heart, if God has approached you and the Holy Spirit has helped you understand and unpack that, then know that that is a good place for you to be and follow that. Doesn't mean you don't need to talk to people that have been doing it longer than you sometimes to get some clarity, to get some. Religion matters. Just don't let religion be. Yeah, I've said before, there's a song I really like, and he says, religion ain't God. Don't get it twisted. He's right. Religion is not God. Religion is man's creation to worship God. That's what it is. What's Christ going to judge you by? Your religion? Which faith you were? What does it say in Revelations? Every knee will bend, every head shall bow, and you will all be judged by the intent in your heart and by your deeds. That's it. I love you. Jesus Christ loves you a lot more.